I'm fired up to be here right now. I'm with Lissette Hurtado, myself, Joe Rosen, and today we're going to talk about, should I be a realtor? Lissette, how often do you show people homes and they say, man, this looks like a good deal. I should be a realtor. You hear that?
All the time. And they're like, man, look how much money you make.
So easy. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So we're starting, it's 10:35. We like to start at 10:30 when we do this. We do this pretty normally on Wednesdays, but we had to push it back 5 minutes because Lissette had a pretty hectic last 20 minutes. Tell us about that last 20 minutes.
So it's fun. It's so much fun being a realtor, especially when you got both sides of a deal. And you're trying to make sure all the little pieces of that deal is working out. And especially when you have people that don't understand time is of the essence. Yeah. So that is what I'm dealing with this morning. It's so important to get your documents into your lender. It's so important to have that communication. And when they request something, get on it and get it into them, because it can back up everything else that is pending in that transaction. And then push closing dates out, which then interferes with the other parties that have already scheduled the moving truck, another deal that they have on the line. So one little document that you're not getting to your lender can just be very explosive to the whole deal. So
yeah, communication
and get those documents in.
So I always like to end on a positive note. So let's start with all the negative parts, right? All the just, my God, do not be a realtor. Let's start with that. And I think you brought up some great points. I would say that two big things. Number one, to me, the biggest thing a lot of realtors don't understand when they get into real estate, that if you want to be successful, you have to be a therapist. You have to be willing to listen to people. You got to shut up and listen to people's 44-minute stories filled with emotion, not logic. All they're thinking about is problems, not solutions. You got to be calm, cool, and you got to be logical. And you got to forget everything else, listen to them, make it feel like they were listened to. And then you have to come after that with solutions. But you got to get them on board. You got to get them mentally on board. You got to soothe all their emotions, but get them logically on board with it. And that can be challenging. It's time consuming. It's tough. And a lot of people are like, oh, a realtor, I just open the door. I show them the pretty house. We talk about how great this kitchen is, how horrible that living room is, why I would want this lot, why I don't want to be in this neighborhood. And then I figure out the paperwork. That's it, right? No, that's the easy part. That's the easy part. What would you say about the emotional aspect? Let's talk about this deal a little bit right now that you're having trouble with. Talk about the emotional aspect of that deal.
You could not be more correct in what you're saying. You have to have people skills. You have to be able to communicate, and you have to understand what is their hurting point. What is the issues that they're having, and how to come across and solve those problems for them, or come up with solutions, or for them to realize, hey, in the bigger picture, it's really not such a big deal. We could solve this. This is a 10-minute fix. This is just a phone call. This is just pushing some paper. But when you're involved in the deal on the seller, on the buyer side, you have so much emotion involved that sometimes you don't see clearly. So as the agent, as a realtor, you have to be able to be their guide and walk them through that and take the emotion out and bring their emotions down and make them feel better, even though you're stressed too.
Yes, but you have to hide that, right? You have to put that aside. You have to be a professional, and you have to get it done for them. Sometimes for them is, hey, listen, for you, you need to lower the emotion. And sometimes you get some high anxiety people. And this is one of the most stressful situations of their lives. It can be. So you have to respect that, but you also have to keep them moving forward. So that can be a challenge. Let's talk about the next big, I would say, misconception about real estate. A lot of people say, I could do this at night. I could work my day job from 9 to 5, and then I could do real estate at night and on the weekends, and I could build it up, and it could be so great, and it's really not that challenging. So I just got to pay $1,000 or $2 to get my license. I'm good to go. And I think if you ask 100 agents what the one word they're chasing is when they get into real estate, that one word is freedom. And by freedom, it's not what it truly is, which to me, real estate, the freedom is, if you put everything into it, if you work a lot of hours, if you work hard, if you go above and beyond for your clients, if you have integrity, if you're focused on delivering value and you're not focused on getting commissions, you're focused on them, you can have all the freedom in the world. You can literally build that freedom a couple years down the road. But what they're thinking is, I want to go to my kids' baseball games. I want to go to the dance recitals. I don't know if that's a thing. I want to be able to wake up late. I want to go to bed late. I want to party on the weekends. I want to take weekends off. I want to be able to go on dates with my spouse or my girlfriend or whoever. And I want to be able to do all that. And I'll just work when I want to work. And with that mindset, unfortunately, this business attracts people who are chasing that freedom, which to me, that's not freedom. You have to earn that freedom, but they want that on day one. And so this business attracts a lot of people who don't put in the effort. They're already coming with the mindset of, I want to work 25 hours a week and I want to make 100 grand. And those two things do not marry up. You need to work your butt off at least for a couple years to even get to the point where you can start saying, oh, my business is based on referrals. What do you think about that? That word freedom and that perception of what realtors think that freedom will be when they get in versus reality?
I think most people getting into real estate don't realize that this is a business. This is your career. You get in what you get what you put in.
Yep.
And if you're thinking you're going to be working a few hours each day and you're going to be making the big bucks, then you're going to have a surprise coming to you. Yeah. Many times I've been on vacation in line at Disney and I'm actually answering text message and emails. Why? Because this is my business. This is what I work hard for. I stick very strictly to my schedule, but there's times when it is supposed to be family time and I'm still answering those emails and those text messages because that's a representation of who I am.
Yes.
So if I want to be successful, I need to live up to those standards of what a successful realtor is. And that's putting in 110% every single day. The day that you don't, it will reflect on your next day on what you put in.
Yes. Now with us in our team, right, we are focused on input. All right. We're focused on phone calls and door knocks and meetings and Facebook posts and like all the things we're doing for ourselves, for our clients, for all those people, right? That's what we're focused on. The results naturally come. That's icing on the cake that comes, but you need to focus on what you're putting into it. That's what you need to focus on. So we talked about the emotional aspect of the clients, right? You got to be the therapist for them. But what about for a brand new agent who is thinking, okay, so I need to make 10 phone calls. 10 phone calls will get me a listing. And then if I get a listing, it's going to sell. And if it's, as long as it's pending, I'm good to go. Then I make a commission, right? Is that how it works?
No.
That's not how it works.
No. And I think I had a conversation with someone yesterday and I made this comment. You can always depend on something going wrong in a deal.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that is 100% in real estate.
Yes.
Now, will it break up and blow up every single deal? Absolutely not. There's always ways to work around that and make things happen and get to that closing table. But it's not going to be a smooth transaction and nothing in life really is. So you just have to be able to have the insight and know how to work around those problems and find a solution.
Yep. I always like to use the analogy of just dig your hand into that big old vat of wet noodles and just toss them up against the wall. And you don't know which are going to stick. You just know a bunch are going to stick if you throw a bunch up there. And you don't care. You're just doing the best you can. You're working your hardest. You're giving your best. And all you know is if you do just massive action with everything you do, you're going to get massive output. But you need massive input to get massive output. But that same emotional issue that you're seeing as buyers and sellers that you're dealing with, new agents see that too. They'll get 3 pending and they're like, okay, this one I'm making $6,000 on $6,000. I got 18 grand in the bank. But you don't know that 1 or 2 might fall apart. You might have financing issues. You might have inspection issues. You might have appraisal issues. You might have market issues. You can have a million issues. And you still, with yourself, need to be emotionally, you need to be logical, really. You're going to have those emotions, but you need to push them aside and you need to logically focus on solutions, not on problems. I always say just focus on the problem long enough so you know what the heck the problem is. And then the problem doesn't matter anymore. Now it's just solution until you figure it out. But getting agents to really just bluntly said, shut up and get to work is tough. How many times you walk into an open house with agents and they'll go on for 37 minutes about the last issue they had and you haven't heard one solution?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
tough.
It's tough and it's just moving forward. And I think if anything, COVID really taught me that. When COVID first hit, I had some nice deals. on the table. And unfortunately, what happened was that, oh, I think my phone just went off. And what happened at that moment was the deals fell through because people unfortunately were losing their jobs and weren't able to close and weren't able to verify income. And that became to be a huge problem. But the moment passed and we reached, the other end of COVID and moved forward.
Yeah. And really because that's just going to happen. It doesn't matter who you are, what deal you're going to have issues pop up. Can you get over those hurdles? If you are high anxiety, if you can't deal with stress well, this is absolutely not an industry you're going to be successful in. You have to be cool, calm, and collected. And when you go home at night, you can do all your complaining and whining and all that great stuff. But while you're at work, you need to be stone-faced, professional, focused on solutions. And that's something you need to be aware of. You've either got it or you don't have it. And so I think that's one big thing too. Let's talk about the money aspect. Okay. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's really cheap to get in. It's super cheap. All I got to do is come up with $1,000 or $2,000. I got my license. If I go to a brokerage that has business cards and all that good stuff for me, not a big deal. I can get in for $1,000 or $2,000. It's a piece of cake. While that may be true, you have to find a way to prospect. You have to find a way to get in front of people. And you also have to realize that your bills are still coming in. And it's a long life cycle, I should say a sales cycle between prospecting, right? Maybe it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks to find a person, right? And then pick a buyer or seller, it doesn't matter. Let's say buyer. Now we got to go and look. Maybe that's going to take a week or two, right? And then they put an offer in and it gets accepted now, especially in this market, another 45 to 60 days to close. So that whole process could take 3 months. And that's if you're doing all the right things, right? So that means on your first deal, it makes complete sense if it takes you 2.5, 3.5 months, if you're doing well. I don't think a lot of agents think about that. What do you think of the money aspect?
It's huge. It's very important to have reserves in this business because it could take 3 months for what you just explained. Between you get your buyer, you're looking for a property. Hopefully you get your offer accepted in this market. Not all of them are getting accepted. No. You go under contract, everything works out, and then you close, and then you get paid, and hopefully you get paid at the table too, because that could be another setback. So the money aspect is something that people are very aware. Just like as in any business, you have to have your reserves, and you have to be ready for that rainy day or the dry spell. Yep. When the market does slow down. It's nice right now, but it's not always as nice as it is right now.
I'm going to throw out my last bit of negativity on should I be a realtor? And then we're going to get to the fun part, the positive part, right? And it's prospecting. I think a lot of agents come in and they hate prospecting. They hate getting in front of new clients because they don't like the rejection, and nobody likes getting a cold call. Nobody likes being in the grocery store and having somebody come up and be like, hey, you looking for a realtor here? And that's not the best pitch anyway, but they don't like it. So because they don't like it, they don't want to do it. And I completely understand it, but you have to get in front of people. You have to present opportunities for them to buy or sell with you, or you're going to fail. And one of the big things that I hear, and I'm instantly like, you're going to have problems, is when you ask people, how do you get your business? And people will proudly say 100% referrals. Like it's a pride thing. But I think when I hear that, if you're 100% referrals, that means you control 0% of your business. If you get a bunch of referrals, great. But if it cools off for some reason, for whatever reason, you just lost 100% of your business because you're not in control of it. You're not out there with a way to force yourself in front of people. That's a scary thing for me as a business owner. I want to know that. So you also have the mindset that, yes, I am willing to get in front of people. I'm willing to say I'm a realtor. I'm willing to say I want to help you. And I'm absolutely okay knowing that I'm going to get the door slammed 99 out of 100 times to find that one person who's willing to work with me. What do you think of that aspect, the rejection part of it?
I think that realtors don't realize that maybe 75% of your time is in prospecting and looking for those clients and building your database. The more people you get in, the better your odds are that one of them is going to turn into a buyer, one of them is going to turn into a seller. It's really is a numbers game, and it's being persistent and being proactive every single day, and get on the phone and talk to as many people as you can to get your database growing, and eventually you'll get the clients out from there. But yeah, it's definitely a numbers game, and prospecting, I think, is one of my biggest duties every single day. Make sure I'm on it.
Yeah. 100%. So let's get to the positive side now. What are some of the cool things about being a realtor? I'm going to let you start. I've been starting all these.
I enjoy what I do. I love looking at houses. I
Yeah.
love taking people out. I love the emotion of the closing table and people are happy and
Um,
excited. They just purchased a property. I love everything that has to do with real estate, looking at comps, coming up with the numbers. And it's very rewarding in many ways. And
yeah.
also the money aspect, it's nice. If you're good at it, if you put in the effort, it is definitely rewarding financially as well.
Yep. I think that it's maybe the easiest industry I've ever seen to make 100 grand in maybe your first year, but definitely your second year. If you're doing all the right things and all those things I just talked about on the negative side, you will work, you will deal with rejection, you will prospect, you do have some reserves set aside. If you're willing to deal with all that and the emotional aspects, you're strong, right? Mentally, you can get over your emotions and be logical. You can, more than any other industry, you have a better chance of making six figures than any other industry. Would you argue with that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I completely agree. Mind you, there are lots of expenses that we do see at the closing table when lots of buyers and sellers only see the big number. They don't see how it's broken down. But yeah, most definitely. It's very, very rewarding. And I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
I'm the same. I just love it. I love it. And I think too, if you need to have a passion for it. You need to have a passion for it. If you don't have a passion for it, then the days when you wake up and you just don't feel like doing it, which you're going to have a lot of those days, you're not going to have enough drive behind you. You have to have enough passion that when you wake up and you're tired, you wake up and you're a little sick, you still drive through. You still make it happen. I think that's absolutely critical. I also think one cool thing about being a realtor is now we're big on calls. You don't need to do calls. You can do a lot of different things, right? You can pay for leads. You can knock on doors. You can hold open houses. You can go after expired listings. You can work with for sale by owners. You can, like, I've just touched the tip of the iceberg. There are 7,362 ways you can be successful in real estate. And if you put enough energy, motivation, and thought into it, you can be successful in a million different ways. I think it's really cool because a lot of times, especially with us, right, we got big personalities, you get bored easily. And so you need to find something that you're really interested in, but it also works because a lot of times the fun stuff isn't the stuff that works. It's the boring, repetitive stuff that works. So all these type A personalities, you got to keep them on that stuff. But you can do virtually anything. As long as you've got a great plan behind it, you're passionate with it, you're consistent with it, you can be successful with a lot of different things. I think that is a cool aspect of real estate. Where does that come into play with you? Where have you said, I really want to do this thing and I love it. I don't like this and I don't have to do it because I own my own doggone business?
Well, with the calls was one thing that I was very hesitant with at first. And it's been many,
Now you're doing it, man.
It's my number one thing. I schedule everything around it. Do I 100% enjoy it? No, it's not fun. But I make sure I do it every day. I see the results from it. I know it works. And once in a while, I will come across with people, which I was like, wow, that was amazing conversation, even though there's nothing business related came from it. So that's definitely one thing. And another thing I like to point out with real estate, I don't think you have a limit. You don't have a cap. You can keep on growing as much and as far as you want. And that is another, you're not in corporate America where you have to go up the ladder.
Yes. You own your business. And I think when a lot of people, going back to that word freedom, when a lot of people get into real estate and they're chasing that freedom, they like the idea of being a business owner, which means you can do anything. So you and I right now have aligned. You've said, Joe, I really like what you're doing. I've said, Lissette, I like what you're doing. Okay, cool. Let's come together. Let's work together. But if you wake up one morning, you're like, I don't dig Joe anymore. You can literally do anything you want with anybody you want. You can grow to whatever size you want. You can focus on new construction. You can focus on pre-existing. You can focus on foreclosures. You can do whatever you want. If you really want to blow it away, you can absolutely, you can make millions. You could make 8 figures, 9 figures. You can do anything you want. There's no limit. The only limits created are created by you. And I think that if you're an employee for anybody, you've got limits. And I think that a lot of small businesses also, I don't want to pick on anybody here. If you build a restaurant, right? There's only so much business you can do in a particular area with that restaurant. There's only so many people who are going to eat out at your restaurant. The only way to grow is to build another restaurant, another restaurant, another restaurant. And now you got to get managers and you got to get head chefs. And then you just kind of rise, right? And the more you rise, the less you're kind of mingling with the people at the bottom, that's generally what people love. They like the hands-on part of it. With real estate, you can grow a monster brokerage, a monster team. You can help people in their careers, which for me is incredibly rewarding. You can be an affiliate with some of the bigger companies. I've got new construction that I'm focused on really heavily. The marketing is a really fun aspect. Doing these podcasts with interesting people in the industry and finding out how they're finding success, and then sharing that with all the other realtors who are struggling and they want to implement some of that stuff. All of that stuff is so rewarding. I pick all of that as a business owner. And for me, that is absolutely awesome. I love owning that time.
Yeah, it's huge. It is huge. And at the end, that's why people get into real estate.
Yeah.
I believe it's the growth. And when they think of it freedom, yeah, you do get a lot of freedom with it after you put in the time, after you put in the hard work, but it's so rewarding in so many levels. So
yes. I think too, and I'll end with this unless you got something to say at the end. When I first started the team, I was trying to pitch people, hey, come to the team. I'm trying to build the team, right? And I found that you would attract people who weren't willing to put in the time and the effort. And they would quickly fail. And I thought, man, we put a lot of time and effort and energy into that. I've gone the other way. And now I try to scare them. Listen, you're going to have to make this many calls. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to wake up at this time. You're going to it's going to be a lot. It's going to be overwhelming. And you need to commit for at least 2 years before you're going to get your business anywhere near, okay, now I'm taking on referrals. And if that hasn't scared them, okay, then we got a shot at that person being successful. I would say this, if you want to be in real estate, you need to ask yourself that same question. If all the scary stuff that Lissette and I just threw out doesn't scare you, you've got a shot. Because what is it? It's an 80-something% failure rate after 5 years.
it is.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what. It's something in the teens, make it for 5 years. 80-some don't make it. So if all that scary stuff doesn't scare you, yes, you've got a shot. If any of it scares you or you're wavering at all, go be an employee somewhere because it is tough. Lissette, I'll let you finish. What do you got?
No, I agree with everything you said. It is tough, but it's definitely rewarding. It's a profession where you get what you put in. And if you take it seriously, there is no limit for you. You could reach as high as you like. So if you're a go-getter and you want to treat this as a business and as a career, go for it.
Yes. Oh, I'm inspired, man. All right. Have a rocking day, Lissette. I appreciate it.
All right. You too. Have a good one.